Hello and welcome to Prepare for IELTS. I'm Ian, a native speaker of English and a former IELTS examiner. And in this video, we're looking at an IELTS Speaking Part 2 cue card to describe a time when you were very busy. You'll need to say when it was, where you were, what you did, and explain why you were busy. And in this video, we'll go with a great model answer containing fantastic Band 9 IELTS language, which the examiner will love. Then we'll read this answer so you can see the language in context, and then there's a quiz to see how much you've remembered. So let's get started straight away with our model answer on the Band 9 language. And we start with the adjective hectic. And if your life is hectic, it's full of activity and very busy. You might have a hectic schedule. You might be working very hard. Frantic has a similar meaning, but it means that your life is almost out of control because there's so much activity, stress, and worry. So hectic can be quite good, but frantic is usually bad. If something is overwhelming, it's so big or so powerful that it's difficult to fight against. So you might be overwhelmed by the amount of work that you have to do. And if an explanation goes right over your head, it's too difficult or too complicated for you to understand. You might be in a physics class and they explain something and you just don't understand what they're talking about. That's certainly my experience. Things used to go right over my head in physics lessons. If you're out of your depth, and again, I can talk about physics lessons here, you don't have the knowledge or the skill or the experience that you need to deal with the situation that you're in. So other people have more experience, they know what they're doing, you don't know what you're doing. And if you are underprivileged, then you haven't had or you don't have the opportunities or the education or the money which normal or ordinary people or most other people seem to have. A scholarship, this is money which a school or a college or university gives to some students, especially to very poor students or very clever students to pay for their education. So imagine you're poor but you get excellent grades. The university says, we would love you to study in our university. We know you can't pay the fees, the money, but we want you to come, so we'll pay that money for you. And what they will probably pay are tuition fees or academic fees, and this is the money which students pay to a school or a college or a university for their teaching. So in some countries, academic fees or tuition fees for universities are extremely high. If you've got information and you've received it unofficially and informally, maybe from a person who heard it from somebody else, who heard it from somebody else, who heard it from somebody else, then you've got this information or news through the grapevine or on the grapevine. So you've heard about it unofficially through people. A very nice expression, that one. And a shift, this is a period of time during the day or night when a worker does a job. And we use the word shift, especially when working hours are unusual or change regularly. So coal miners often work shifts because they might work 6 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and a couple of weeks later 2 in the afternoon till 10 at night, and then a couple of weeks later 10 at night till 6 in the morning. This would be a shift. If you don't know whether you're coming or going, you're confused and don't understand what you should do. So when you start a new job, you quite often don't know whether you're coming or going. And if you burn the candle at both ends, you work or do things from very early in the morning until very late at night. So you are sleep deprived. You're not getting enough sleep or rest. Lovely idiomatic expression. Examiners love expressions like this, and they're quite fun to learn. If you're grouchy or grumpy, then you're easily annoyed and you're bad-tempered and you very quickly complain. And if you can't catch up, then this means that you are behind and you just don't have the ability to get to the same level or the same standard of other people who are ahead of you or at a more advanced level. So let's say you started the school year in September, you were ill for the first few weeks. When you came to class, all the students were much more advanced in mathematics and it didn't make any sense to you, so you couldn't get to their level, you would say, I just can't catch up. If you ask your teacher for an extension, then you want extra time to complete your homework and you want to hand it in later than other students. So the teacher might say, you should hand in this homework next Tuesday. And you might say, I'm sorry, I've got to go into hospital. Please can I hand it in 3 days later on Friday? Hopefully you have a sympathetic teacher who says yes. And if you pull your socks up, then you work harder, you put more effort in. This is a really nice phrase. Teachers sometimes say it to children. You must really pull your socks up and work harder. And if you are expelled or if you get expelled, then an organization such as a school or a university or maybe even a club makes you leave. And they often do this because you have behaved badly or broken their rules. So if you go to school and you never wear your school uniform and they tell you 5 or 10 times and you never wear the uniform, they might expel you. They might say, we're sorry, you can't come to this school anymore. And a lovely verb to get muddled up, so to get things mixed up. If you work as a waiter, then you probably bring salad to the people who wanted soup, and you bring soup to the people who wanted salad, and you muddle up their order, and they will be cheesed off. That means annoyed and a bit disappointed. If you pluck up the courage or get up the courage to do something, then you force yourself to do something, even though you're frightened about it. So maybe you've broken your parents' car in some way, and you're thinking about saying it was an accident and blaming somebody else, but then you pluck up the courage and you say, oh yeah, it was me. It was an accident, but I did it. So you forced yourself to do something which you find frightening. And if you come clean, you finally tell the truth about something which you have kept secret. So again, maybe you broke something and for a long time you say it was an accident, and finally you come clean. You tell people the truth. If you're sympathetic, then you show that you understand and care about the suffering of another person. So a sympathetic teacher will give students an extension or help them when they need help. And if you resign, then you leave your job. You tell your boss or your employer that you are going to stop working for them. Okay, now time to read through the model answer so you can see the language in context. Looking back, I'd say my first semester at uni was hectic. My life was so frantic. I was having to attend lectures and seminars, write up my notes and complete assignments. To be honest, I found it overwhelming because most of what the lecturer said went right over my head. I was out of my depth. But the problem was that I also had a part-time job as a waiter. I come from an underprivileged background, and although I got a scholarship, that only covered my tuition fees. I had to earn money for rent, so when I heard on the grapevine that a restaurant was hiring, I sent in my resume straight away. It was chaotic there. I spent my shift running between tables. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. I was burning the candle at both ends. I was sleep-deprived and permanently grouchy. After a while, I realised that something had to give. I'd got behind with my studies and couldn't catch up. I'd asked for extensions to deadlines, and my tutors were warning me to pull my socks up. I honestly thought that I might fail my exams and get expelled. At work, I kept getting orders muddled up, and customers were getting cheesed off. In the end, I plucked up the courage to come clean and told my supervisor. She was sympathetic and organised a loan to keep me going. I resigned from work to focus on my studies. What a relief. Everybody's favourite time, it's quiz time. Let's see if you have remembered some of the key language here. First question is multiple choice. If you show that you care about the suffering of others, you are... Well, I'll give you a clue. It's not systematic, and it's not frantic, and it's not sensible. It is, of course, sympathetic. You can have a sympathetic teacher or a sympathetic boss or a sympathetic friend. Which phrase means to be annoyed and a bit disappointed. Obviously, it's connected with food, and it is cheesed off. A piece of cake is a phrase used to describe something which was really easy. That exam was a piece of cake. If you egg somebody on, you encourage them to do something, often something that they shouldn't do, and something fishy is a bit dodgy that you can't really trust. That website looks a bit fishy to me. I wouldn't go on it. A person who is easily annoyed and bad-tempered, how do we describe them? Well, they're grouchy. You could also use grumpy. And if you are lazy, your teacher might tell you to pull something up. Well, they won't tell you to pull your knees up, or your shoes up, or your legs up, but they might tell you to pull your socks up. If you don't have the same opportunities as others, you can be described as underprivileged. If you're underweight, option D, then you need to get a bit heavier. You don't weigh enough. If you're underfunded, A, that could be a school. You don't get enough money from the government, so you can't do everything that you need to do. And if food is undercooked, don't eat it because it might be very bad for you. Can you find the phrase? If an explanation is too difficult for you to understand, where does it go? I think the picture should help you. Of course, it goes right over your head. And if you make yourself do something, even though it frightens you, what do? You pluck up the courage. And the money which students pay to universities for their teaching is called, of course, it's called tuition fees. We can also refer to this as academic fees.